She did not plan her escape. It happened between one heartbeat and the next, in the narrow space where fear finally turns into survival. Her hands shook on the steering wheel, slick with blood that was not entirely hers. The pain in her head pulsed in time with her racing heart, a deep, dizzying throb from where it had struck the wall. The engine coughed once, twice before roaring to life, far louder than it ever had before, as if even the car understood the urgency of this moment. Behind her, the front door of the house flew open. His shadow filled the porch light. "Come back," he roared, his voice cracking with rage, his fists slamming against the doorframe hard enough that the wood splintered. She didn't look back. She threw the car into reverse, tires screaming as they tore down the driveway, gravel spraying like sparks. Her vision blurred with tears and shock, but she forced herself forward, swallowing panic with every breath. Stopping meant dying. She drove with no destination, only instinct guiding her. Streets she recognized melted into ones she didn't. Suburban calm gave way to cracked pavement and broken streetlights. The city seemed to decay around her, buildings growing older, darker, more forgotten with every mile. Her phone was gone. She had thrown it out the window earlier, watching it shatter against the road like a final severed tie. No tracking. No calls. No chance for him to find her again. The fuel gauge screamed red. And then the car sputtered. She coasted, breath trapped in her chest, until the engine died completely in an industrial wasteland of abandoned warehouses and rusted fences. Silence swallowed her whole. That was when she saw it. Between two condemned buildings, where nothing living should have existed, a bar glowed. Warm amber light spilled from its windows, rich and inviting, like a promise whispered directly to her soul. The neon sign flickered above the door, crimson letters spelling the Crimson Veil. She didn't question it. She stumbled out of the car, every movement burning, and leaned her full weight against the heavy door. When it finally opened, warmth wrapped around her like an embrace she hadn't felt in years. The bar was nothing like it should have been. Dark wood lined the walls, polished to a soft gleam. Brass fixtures held Edison bulbs that cast golden pools of light across burgundy leather booths. The air smelled of aged whiskey, smoke, and something deeper, something ancient. A few patrons sat in the shadows, their conversations low, their faces indistinct. No one turned to look at her. No one, except him. The man behind the bar stood utterly still, a crystal glass suspended mid-polish in his hand. Platinum hair fell past his shoulders, impossibly pale against the black silk of his shirt. His face was carved with sharp, elegant precision, beauty that didn't belong in a place like this, or in this century. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath entirely. Gray-blue. Watching her not with hunger, but with recognition. They swept over her injuries without judgment. The split lip, the bruise blooming along her jaw, the torn sleeve revealing dark fingerprints on her collarbone. He set the glass down. Reached beneath the bar. Her body tensed, every instinct screaming danger. But he produced only a clean white towel and a glass of amber liquid. "Corner booth," he said quietly, his accent old and unplaceable, as if it belonged to another world entirely. "No one will bother you there." She took the glass with trembling fingers. "Thank you," she whispered. He inclined his head, just slightly, then turned away, giving her something she had not been given in years. Privacy without abandonment, protection without possession. She sank into the booth, back to the wall, eyes tracking the exits out of habit. The whiskey burned her throat, but it was grounding. Real. Alive. Across the room, the man moved with effortless grace, serving drinks to patrons who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Though he never stared, she felt his awareness like a steady warmth. This was not fear. She knew fear intimately. This was something else. Safety. She woke to silence. Soft, expensive silence. Her fingers brushed velvet, and confusion flooded her before panic followed. She sat up abruptly, heart pounding, eyes darting around a room that looked like it belonged in a museum rather than above a bar in a dead district. Antique furniture. Oil paintings of castles beneath strange moons. A massive bed draped in burgundy fabric. She was wearing clean clothes. Her breath caught sharply. She grabbed the nearest object, a heavy brass candlestick, and crossed the room, yanking at the door. Unlocked. The hallway beyond was empty. "You're awake," a calm voice said. She spun, weapon raised. He stood in the doorway of a study, unchanged from the night before, pale and composed, holding a leather-bound book. "You may leave whenever you wish," he said evenly. "But you looked like you needed rest more than questions." Her voice shook. "Why help me?" His gaze softened, something ancient and weary flickering beneath the surface. "Because cruelty should never be mistaken for power," he replied. Downstairs, footsteps echoed. Voices rose. And then the front door slammed open. Her past had found her. Kelly spent 3 days learning the rhythm of the Crimson Veil. Not because she wanted to stay. Because she had nowhere else to go. In the daylight hours, the district outside looked even worse than it had that first night, like the city had tried to erase this place and failed. Warehouses sagged with rusted bones. Windows were boarded. Streets were cracked and empty. No children's voices. No normal traffic. Just wind, old paper, and distant sirens that never came close. Yet inside the bar, the world was different. Warm. Orderly. Like a pocket of safety stitched into a dangerous city. Augustus, she had learned his name on the second day when one of the shadowed patrons murmured it with a quiet kind of respect, kept strange hours. He opened the bar at dusk when the first edge of night kissed the sky, and closed it just before dawn. It should have seemed suspicious. But it made a strange sense. Kelly told herself it didn't matter why. A safe place was a safe place. And she wasn't going to be picky when she had bruises under her skin and fear living in her bones. She tried to earn her keep. Not because he demanded it, he never did, but because being cared for without earning it made her feel like a burden. And burdens in her old life were punished. So she wiped down tables. Restocked bottles. Collected glasses left behind by patrons who never looked her in the eye. She learned which booth had a loose leg and which corner always stayed colder than the rest. She learned that some customers paid in crisp bills, while others slid old coins across the bar that looked too worn to be modern currency. She didn't ask questions. Not yet. Because every time she considered asking, she remembered Michael's voice. Stop talking. Stop thinking. Stop asking. Just do what you're told. Here no one told her anything. That freedom was both comforting and terrifying. Augustus rarely spoke unless necessary. But when he did, the sound of his voice did something to her that she didn't have words for. It was steady. Controlled. Like nothing in the world could shake him. Sometimes she caught him watching her, not with ownership, not with hunger, but with a sharp, unreadable focus, as if he was measuring something deeper than her bruises. And that was the strangest part. He didn't treat her like a broken thing. He treated her like someone who deserved respect. On the fourth night, the bar was half full. The amber lights glowed soft against burgundy walls. Jazz hummed low from speakers. The air smelled like aged whiskey and polished wood. Kelly was behind the bar wiping a row of glasses when she felt it. Not a sound. A shift. A subtle tightening of the room, like the air itself had drawn a breath. The front door slammed open hard enough to rattle the glass panes. 2 men walked in. They didn't belong. Their boots were too heavy, their shoulders too wide, their eyes too sharp. They scanned the room with cold purpose, ignoring the patrons, ignoring the warmth, ignoring every unspoken rule of the Crimson Veil. Kelly's stomach dropped. She knew men like that. Men sent by other men. The larger one was barrel-chested with a shaved head and a thick neck. The other was lean and twitchy, wearing a silver chain that caught the bar's light like a warning. The big one's gaze locked on her. Kelly Brennan, he said. Her fingers went numb. Her hand slipped. The glass in her palm shattered against the floor. Every conversation in the bar went quieter. Not silent. Just lower. As if the patrons had all decided at once to mind their own business. The shaved-head man smiled without warmth. Your husband wants you home. Her lungs stopped working. The word husband tasted like poison. Kelly backed up one step, then another, her spine hitting the shelf behind her. Her mind raced so fast it barely formed thoughts. How did they find her? Oh. A movement blurred at the edge of her vision. Augustus was suddenly there. He hadn't been behind the bar a second ago. He hadn't walked in. He simply appeared, placing himself between Kelly and the men with an effortless calm that made her knees weak. His hands rested lightly on the polished wood of the bar, fingers relaxed as if he had all the time in the world. His expression didn't change. But the temperature in the room dropped by a fraction. The lady isn't interested, Augustus said softly. The shaved-head man laughed. Not asking, pretty boy. He took a step forward, eyeing Augustus like he was something annoying on the bottom of a shoe. My boss pays good money. We don't leave without her. Kelly did not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the crack of bone echoing through the bar. Saw Polly's arm bent the wrong way. Felt the invisible weight in Augustus' voice when he said centuries. She sat on the edge of the bed upstairs, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the faint glow of the city through tall windows. Somewhere below, the Crimson Veil hummed quietly as Augustus finished closing for the night. He hadn't told her to stay in the room. He hadn't locked the door. That, more than anything else, unsettled her. Freedom had always come with conditions. Michael had called it love. Rules disguised as care. Control disguised as concern. Every door locked for her safety. Every decision made for her own good. Augustus had done none of that. which made her afraid in a different way. A soft knock came at the door. Kelly flinched, heart leaping into her throat. "It's Augustus," came his calm voice. "May I enter?" he asked. No man had ever asked her that before. "Yes," she whispered. He stepped inside slowly as if careful not to crowd her space. In the low light, his presence was quieter than it had been downstairs, less imposing though no less powerful. "I thought you might want answers," he said. She swallowed. "I don't even know what questions to ask." "That's fair." He gestured toward the chair near the window. "May I sit?" She nodded. Augustus sat, long fingers folding together, posture relaxed but alert, like a warrior at rest. "You're afraid I'll become like him?" he said. Kelly's breath caught. "I didn't say." "You didn't need to." His gaze was steady. "Fear has a sound. Yours has lived in your chest for a long time." Her voice trembled. "You're not human. You're strong. Powerful. You could control me without lifting a finger." "Yes," he agreed simply. The honesty stunned her. "Then why don't you?" she asked. Augustus looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Because power taken is corruption," he said. "Power given is trust. And trust is sacred." The word settled deep inside her. Sacred. "I will protect you," he continued. "But I will never own you. I will never command your loyalty, your body, or your silence." Her eyes burned. "And if you want to leave," he added, "you may. Even knowing your husband will hunt you." Kelly's chest tightened painfully. "That doesn't feel like a choice," she whispered. "No," Augustus said softly. "It isn't. That's the tragedy of abuse. It steals choice first." Something in his voice carried an old sorrow. "How do you know so much about it?" she asked. His gaze drifted to the window, to the night sky beyond the city. "Because I have watched it repeat itself for centuries," he said. "Different names. Different faces. Same cruelty." Kelly hugged herself tighter. "What happens when they come back?" she asked. Augustus' jaw tightened. "Then we end it. Not fight. Not survive. And it." The certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead it steadied her. A sharp sound echoed from below. Blast. A crash. Augustus was on his feet instantly. "Stay here," he said. Kelly grabbed his sleeve before she could stop herself. "Please don't leave me alone." He paused, surprised. Then he nodded once. "Then stay behind me." They descended the stairs together. The bar doors hung open. Cold night air poured in. Michael stood in the center of the room. Her husband. His suit was immaculate. His smile practiced. His eyes furious. "Well," Michael said, clapping slowly. "There you are." Kelly's body froze. Michael's gaze flicked to Augustus. "You must be the bartender." Augustus didn't respond. Michael laughed. "She always did have a talent for finding men who think they're special." Kelly's breath hitched. "Come home," Michael said, voice dropping into the tone that had controlled her for years. "We'll forget this little episode." Augustus stepped forward. "Leave," he said calmly. Michael scoffed. "You don't know who she belongs to." The word snapped something inside her. Augustus' eyes darkened. "She belongs to herself," he replied. "And you no longer have permission to speak to her." Michael's smile vanished. He reached into his jacket. "Not a weapon. A small vial filled with black liquid. You think I came unprepared?" Michael sneered. "I know what you are." The air changed. The patrons vanished, gone so fast Kelly hadn't noticed them leaving. Augustus' voice lowered. "You have no idea what you've invited." Michael uncorked the vial and smashed it on the floor. The shadows moved. Something ancient stirred. Kelly gasped. Augustus stepped fully in front of her. "Close your eyes," he said. She didn't. She watched as the Vampire King finally revealed what he truly was. His eyes ignited with silver fire. The room bent around him. The shadows recoiled like living things. Michael screamed, not in pain but in realization. "Please," he begged suddenly. Augustus didn't move. "I warned you," the Vampire King said. "Abuse ends here." The shadows surged. When they receded, Michael lay unconscious on the floor, breathing, but broken. Augustus turned to Kelly. She was shaking. But she was standing. "You didn't kill him," she whispered. "No," Augustus said. "Justice isn't always death." He knelt before her. Not in submission. In respect. "You are safe tonight," he said. "And tomorrow we decide what you want." Kelly's eyes filled with tears she did not wipe away. For the first time, someone powerful had knelt for her, not to own her but to honor her. Kelly woke to sunlight she didn't remember inviting in. It spilled across the hardwood floor in soft gold bands, touching the edges of antique furniture and warming the burgundy curtains until they glowed. For a long moment she lay still listening. No shouting. No slammed doors. No footsteps pacing outside the room. Just quiet. Her body didn't know what to do with quiet. She sat up slowly, half expecting the fear to rush back in like it always did once reality caught up with hope. But it didn't. Her chest felt lighter, still bruised, still sore, but not clenched in survival mode. Downstairs, the crimson veil was silent. Not closed silent. Resting silent. Like a great creature sleeping. She found Augustus in the kitchen, standing before an espresso machine that looked older than any appliance had a right to be. Steam hissed softly as he worked polished brass levers with practiced ease. "You don't have to make coffee for me," Kelly said quietly from the doorway. "I know," he replied without turning. "But you've been drinking instant packets for days, and that is an offense I cannot ignore." Despite herself, a small smile tugged at her lips. He poured a Demitas cup and set it on the counter. Black. Yes. She took a sip and nearly closed her eyes. "Rich, smooth, alive. How long have you had this?" she asked. "Since 1952, he said. Milan. I watched them build the first prototypes. Everyone thought pressure and heat creating something beautiful was magic." He paused, then added dryly, "I still do." Kelly studied him. "You've lived a long time," she said. "Yes. And you've seen people like me before." His hand stilled. "Yes," he repeated more quietly. She hesitated. "What happens now?" Augustus turned to face her fully. "Now," he said, "you choose?" The word still felt fragile in her mouth. "Michael won't stop," she said. "Even after last night." "No," Augustus agreed. "But he has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Humans who seek power they do not understand always do." Kelly frowned. "That vial. The shadows. He knew what you were." "Yes. And that doesn't worry you?" Augustus' expression hardened slightly. "It does. Because he did not learn it on his own." A chill slid down her spine. Someone told him. "Yes." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Someone like you?" "No," Augustus said firmly. "Someone lesser. Someone desperate." He studied her again, really studied her, and something unreadable flickered behind his eyes. "You felt it last night, didn't you?" he asked. "Felt what?" "The bar." She swallowed. "It feels safe. Like the world can't touch you here." Augustus nodded. "Because it cannot." He gestured around them. "The Crimson Veil is not simply a bar. It is neutral ground. Sanctuary. It has been for centuries." Kelly stared. "For who?" "For the vulnerable," he said. "And for monsters who wish not to be." Her heart skipped. "You built this place?" "I inherited it," he corrected. "And protected it. Every city has one, though most have forgotten them." She struggled to process that. "And me?" Augustus held her gaze. "You didn't stumble here by accident, Kelly." Her breath caught. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." The weight in his voice told her that much. "You crossed 3 districts without direction," he continued. "Your car died at the precise threshold of this ward. You saw the light when others do not." "Because I was desperate," she whispered. "Yes," he said gently. "And because desperation does not open doors that are not meant to open." Her pulse raced. "What are you saying?" Augustus stepped closer, not looming, not crowding, just enough that she could feel the gravity of him. "You carry something rare," he said. "Not power in the way vampires understand it, but resonance." She shook her head. "I'm not special." "That," Augustus said quietly, "is what makes you dangerous to those who rule through fear." She laughed weakly. "I couldn't even stop my own husband." Augustus' voice softened. "Survival is not weakness. Endurance is not submission." He reached out, stopping himself just short of touching her. "You spoke the ancient tongue last night." Her stomach dropped. "I did not," she said quickly. "You did," he said. "When the shadows surged. You whispered words older than this city." Kelly's hands trembled. "I don't remember that." "Trauma unlocks buried things," Augustus replied. "Your bloodline has always stood at thresholds." "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means," he said carefully, "that you were never meant to kneel." A knock echoed through the bar. 3 sharp raps. Augustus straightened instantly. "That will be the council," he said. Kelly's heart leapt. "Council? The ones who believe my protection of you is inconvenient." The door opened without waiting for permission. 3 figures entered, cloaked in dark finery, eyes glowing faintly. One of them smiled coldly at Kelly. "So this is the human," the woman said. "The one who makes kings careless." Augustus stepped forward, his presence expanding, ancient power rolling through the room like thunder under glass. "She is under my protection," he said. The woman's smile sharpened. "For now." Kelly felt it then. A pull. Not fear. Not weakness. Something inside her answered the room. The wards hummed. The crimson veil responded to her. And every vampire in the room noticed. Augustus looked at her, not with surprise. With confirmation. The queen who was never meant to kneel. The air inside the crimson veil vibrated. Not loudly. Not violently. But with a deep, ancient awareness, as if the walls themselves were listening. Kelly stood very still. 3 members of the council faced Augustus, their presence cold and deliberate, cloaked in elegance sharpened by authority. They were not like the men Michael had sent. These beings carried power with restraint, the kind that had been practiced for centuries. But Kelly felt something else now. Not fear. Recognition. The woman who had spoken first stepped closer, her gaze sharp as glass. "You've broken protocol, Augustus Orion. You interfered in a human matter. You revealed yourself." Augustus did not flinch. "I upheld sanctuary." "You claimed her," the woman said, eyes flicking to Kelly. "And that changes things." "I did not claim her," Augustus replied calmly. "I protected her." The third council member, a tall man with silver-threaded hair and eyes like storm clouds, laughed softly. "You split hairs like a poet, old king." Kelly's heart pounded, but her feet did not move. That alone surprised her. "She is human," the woman said. "Fragile. Temporary. You risk imbalance." Kelly inhaled slowly. And then she spoke. "I'm right here." All 3 heads snapped toward her. Augustus turned sharply. "Kelly? I need to say this," she said quietly. Her voice didn't shake. "I don't know your rules. I don't know your wars. But I know what abuse looks like. And I know what protection looks like." She met the woman's glowing gaze. "And he didn't save me because I was useful. He saved me because it was right." The council chamber, because that was what the bar had become, fell silent. The wards hummed louder. The woman narrowed her eyes. Careful, human. Kelly swallowed, then stepped forward. "For 7 years I lived under someone who called control love. I survived by becoming smaller. Quieter. Invisible." She looked at Augustus. "He never once told me what to do. Never demanded loyalty. Never asked for obedience." Her voice steadied. "If your world punishes that, then maybe your world is broken." The silence cracked. The storm-eyed council member stiffened. "She feels it," he muttered. The third one stared at Kelly with open shock. "The veil responds to her." Augustus closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, something had changed. "You knew," he said to the council. "Didn't you?" The woman's smile faded. "We suspected." "You knew she was a threshold bearer," Augustus continued. "A living sanctuary." Kelly's breath caught. "What does that mean?" she whispered. Augustus turned to her, his expression reverent. "It means safety follows you. It means places like this answer you. It means monsters cannot cross you without consequence." The truth settled like a crown she had never asked for. "I don't want power," Kelly said softly. Augustus smiled, not cold, not distant, but warm. "Human." "That," he said, "is why you deserve it." The council exchanged glances. The woman exhaled sharply. "If she stays with you, Augustus, your throne becomes unstable." Augustus stepped forward. "Then I will abdicate," he said. Kelly spun. "What?" The room erupted. "You would abandon the Night Throne for a human?" the storm-eyed one demanded. Augustus did not look away from Kelly. "For a queen who reminds the world what mercy looks like." Kelly's throat tightened painfully. "I don't need a throne," she said. Augustus lowered himself, not kneeling, not bowing, but aligning his height with hers. "Nor do I," he replied. "I only need to stand beside you." The ward surged. Light, not sunlight but something older, washed through the crimson veil. The council recoiled. The woman stared at Kelly, awe finally cracking her arrogance. "The sanctuary has chosen." Silence fell. At last the council stepped back. "The night recognizes her," the woman said stiffly, "and releases you." They vanished like shadows at dawn. The bar exhaled. Kelly sagged, knees weak. Augustus caught her, but gently, carefully, as if afraid to cage her even by accident. "You're safe," he murmured. She looked up at him, tears finally spilling. "I was never safe before." "You are now," he said. Weeks passed. Michael disappeared, stripped of influence, power, and memory of her whereabouts. The crimson veil flourished. And Kelly changed, not into something monstrous but into something whole. She laughed again. She slept without fear. And every night she stood beside Augustus, not as property, not as prize, but as equal. Their love did not arrive with fireworks. It came with quiet mornings, shared silence, hands brushing without demand. One night, as the city breathed beyond the windows, Augustus spoke. "Will you stay?" he asked. "Not because you must, because you choose to." Kelly smiled through tears. "I choose you," she said. "Not a king, not a vampire, just him."